Imagine this. You're walking peacefully, sipping your chai, enjoying a good day, and then someone comes, says something rude, and your whole mood crashes. Just one sentence, just one look, and suddenly you're burning inside. But pause for a second. What if I told you the most powerful response is not a reaction, but a redirection? Friends, in life, people will hurt you. That's not a maybe, it's a certainty. Some do it unintentionally, others, sadly, very intentionally. But how you respond will shape not just your relationships, but your character, your peace, and your future. We live in a world where everyone's racing to give a comeback. Someone shouts, we shout louder. Someone disrespects us, we plan revenge. But the truth is, when someone hurts you, don't react instantly. Just do this. Pause, breathe, and respond consciously. Let me share a little story. A monk once asked his teacher, "How do I know when I've truly grown in wisdom?" The teacher smiled and said, "When someone insults you and you don't feel the need to prove them wrong." Wow, that hit me. Because isn't that what maturity really is? It's not about how sharp your tongue is. It's about how still your heart remains when chaos surrounds you. Life will give you many opportunities to react. But the wise ones, they learn to respond. So next time someone hurts you, before you react, take a pause, breathe, observe, and choose your response. You're not just preserving your peace, you're building your power. Let them throw words, you throw wisdom. Let them bring chaos, you bring calm. Let them try to shake you, you stand still like a mountain. Because when you master your reaction, you master your life. In a world where everything moves fast, messages flying in, tweets flying out, we've gotten used to instant responses. Someone criticizes us, we reply in seconds. Someone hurts our feelings, we send that angry message back. It's like life has become a tennis match. You hit, I hit back harder. But in this rush to react, we often forget to reflect. Think about this. Have you ever sent a text in anger only to regret it 5 minutes later? Or shouted at someone during a fight and felt guilty for days? That's the cost of reacting. Reaction is immediate. It's emotional, it's raw, but more often than that, it's reckless. Reflecting, on the other hand, is where wisdom lies. There's a story of a man who was walking in the forest and got bit by a snake. He screamed in pain, but instead of seeking help or treatment, he chased after the snake in anger, determined to punish it. He ran deeper and deeper into the forest, losing his way, getting more injured, more exhausted, until he collapsed. Now the question is, did the snake cause his downfall? Or was it his reaction to the snake? That's how many of us live. Someone says something to us, a rude comment, a sarcastic jab, or just a look, and we chase after the pain with our reaction. We carry it with us all day, sometimes all week. We go home and tell everyone how hurt we are. We post about it. We replay it in our mind like a movie, stuck on loop. But what if instead we just paused and reflected? Imagine someone honks at you aggressively while driving. Now, one option is to scream back, speed up, and let road rage take over. But what does that lead to? Stress, anxiety, maybe even a dangerous accident. But another option is to smile softly, take a deep breath, and think, maybe they're having a bad day, maybe they're rushing to a hospital, Maybe they just lost their job. You don't know their story, but you know yours. And your story is too precious to be ruined by a moment of someone else's instability. Reflection gives you space to see beyond the moment. It allows you to observe your emotions without becoming a prisoner of them. It's like the difference between a spark and a wildfire. The spark is the moment someone says something hurtful. But the wildfire, that's what you create when you pour your reaction onto it. Gaur Gopal Das often reminds us our emotions are like guests. They come and go. But if we react immediately, we become permanent hosts to temporary visitors. When we reflect, we let those emotions pass without giving them the keys to our peace. Let's take a real-life example. Suppose you're at work. You've worked hard on a project for weeks. You finally present it in a meeting, and instead of praise, your boss picks on small errors in front of everyone. Your face flushes, your ego burns, the urge to defend yourself kicks in. But in that moment, if you react, if you argue or walk out, you lose more than the argument. You lose trust, you lose your cool, and maybe even your credibility. But if you pause and reflect, something magical happens. You might realize your boss was under pressure, or that the feedback, though harsh, can help you improve. You might decide to have a calm conversation later, rather than create drama now. That's the power of reflection. It gives you control over the moment instead of being controlled by it. Children react, adults respond. The difference? Reflection. When someone hurts you, try this. Step away for a moment. Go for a walk. Write down what you're feeling. Talk to a friend you trust. Give yourself a few hours or even a day before responding. You'll be amazed how differently you see things once the emotional fog has cleared. Your dignity, your peace, your happiness, none of these should be sacrificed just because someone else lost control of their behavior. When you react, you mirror their behavior. But when you reflect, you rise above it. Every time you resist the urge to react, you're training your mind to operate from wisdom, not wounds. And this training, over time, makes you unshakable. So next time someone hurts you, don't reach for your phone, don't raise your voice, don't sharpen your tongue. Just take a breath, close your eyes, and reflect. Because true power lies not in how consciously you choose to. Don't raise your voice. Don't sharpen your tongue. Just take a breath, close your eyes, and reflect. Because true power lies not in how quickly you react to everything, but in how you first take a deep breath. There is a simple wisdom in something we all do every second of our life: breathe. Yet, in moments of stress, anger, or hurt, we forget to do just that. We forget to breathe before we speak. And because of that, we often say things we don't mean, act in ways we later regret, and damage relationships that matter to us. Think about this for a moment. How many times in life have you said something in the heat of the moment, only to wish you could take it back a few minutes later? Maybe you were tired, maybe someone pushed your buttons, or maybe you were just having a rough day. But the words came out sharp, impulsive, and raw. And just like that, they hurt someone you care about. That's the power of words, spoken without breathing, without thinking. Breathing before speaking is not just about inhaling air. It's about creating space between the trigger and the response. That one breath becomes the difference between reacting from emotion and responding with intention. There's a beautiful story often shared in spiritual circles. A man came to the Buddha, angry and frustrated. He insulted the Buddha with harsh words, trying to provoke a reaction. But the Buddha sat still, calm and silent. After some time, the man asked, "Why don't you respond?" The Buddha gently replied, "If someone offers you a gift and you do not accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" The man replied, "To the one who offered it." The Buddha smiled and said, "In the same way, I do not accept your anger. It remains with you." Now pause and reflect. How was the Buddha able to stay so calm? The answer lies in that silent gap, that pause, that breath, that moment of stillness gave him the clarity to not take on someone else's negativity. And we can do the same. Let's take an everyday example. Imagine you're in a team meeting. You share an idea you're proud of, something you've worked hard on, and a colleague dismisses it instantly, even ridicules it. You feel the sting of embarrassment, the flush of anger rising up your neck. Every cell in your body wants to snap back, to prove them wrong. But instead, you take one deep breath, just one, in through your nose, out through your mouth. In that moment, your heart slows, your mind clears, and instead of reacting with anger, you respond with grace. Thank you for your feedback. Would love to hear more about your perspective. Just like that, you've transformed the energy in the room. You've led with wisdom, not ego. This one breath, this pause, becomes your superpower. You see, when we're emotionally charged, our brain operates from the amygdala, the fight or flight center. It's survival mode. That's why we lash out, shut down, or get defensive. But the moment we breathe consciously, we activate the prefrontal cortex, the rational part of the brain. Suddenly, we're not reacting from fear or anger, we're responding with thought and maturity. Gaur Gopal Das often says, if you can control your breath, you can control your life. And it's true. The breath is the bridge between your mind and your emotions. It's the invisible thread that ties your inner world to your outer actions. Let's take another example. Picture a parent who just got home after a long, exhausting day. The house is a mess, the kids are shouting, and one of them spills juice all over the floor. The parent is at the edge of snapping. But they stop. They close their eyes, take a deep breath, and count to 5. Suddenly, they see things differently. They see the laughter of their child, the innocence in the mistake, and instead of yelling, they kneel down, clean the mess, and turn it into a moment of connection. That breath saved the moment. That breath protected the relationship. So often, what we need is not more words, but more space between our words, more silence between our emotions, more breath between our impulses. When someone says something hurtful, before you reply, breathe. When life doesn't go your way, before you complain, breathe. That breath may seem small, even unnecessary, but in reality, it is everything. It gives you time to choose your tone. It gives you space to think. And most importantly, it gives you the power to stay in control of yourself. Words once spoken cannot be unsaid, but words delayed through breath can be transformed. And often, silence says more than speech ever could. So let breathing become your daily practice. Before that meeting, take a breath. Before that tough conversation, take a breath. Before hitting send on that angry text, pause and breathe. You'll be amazed how much peace and power you find in just a few seconds of stillness. Because those who master their breath, master their emotions. and those who master their emotions master their lives. It's one of those statements that sounds simple but holds a deep, transformative truth. Hurt people hurt people. It means that those who inflict pain are often the ones who are silently bleeding inside. When someone lashes out at you, mocks you, ignores you, betrays you, or treats you unfairly, it's natural to take it personally. It's human to feel offended. But the moment we look beyond their behavior and try to understand the pain behind their action, something changes in us. Our heart softens. Our reaction transforms into reflection, and instead of returning pain with more pain, we begin to respond with compassion. Picture this. You walk into a bakery, smile at the cashier, and cheerfully say, "Good morning," but she just glares at you and grumbles, "What do you want?" For a second, your pride kicks in. How rude! Who does she think she is? But then you pause. You wonder, maybe she's going through something. Perhaps she woke up to bad news. Maybe she's struggling financially. Maybe her child is unwell, or she had a fight with someone she loves. You don't know her story, but suddenly your story doesn't have to be affected by hers. So you smile and say, "Rough morning," and you see her eyes soften. That one moment of understanding changed the energy completely. This is what happens when we realize that people often project what they're going through. Many times we walk around wearing invisible wounds. A child who grows up unloved may become a teenager who bullies others in school. A man who has been betrayed may find it hard to trust. A woman who was constantly criticized might speak harshly, not out of strength, but fear. What seems like arrogance, rudeness, or coldness is often a mask for someone who has been hurt deeply and doesn't know how to deal with it. There's a touching story about a man who always seemed bitter. He was the kind who never smiled, never spoke kindly, and always found something to complain about. People avoided him. One day, a new neighbor moved in, a woman full of positivity and warmth. Instead of reacting to his bitterness, she began greeting him every day with kindness. She would say good morning, share small gifts like fruits or flowers, and always smiled no matter how grumpy he looked. Weeks passed. Slowly, the man started changing. One day, he finally said, "No one's ever been this kind to me without expecting anything. Thank you." Later, she discovered he had lost his wife and son in a tragic accident and had been living in silent grief ever since. His rudeness wasn't really about the world, it was about his own pain. Now, apply this to your own life. Maybe there's a colleague who constantly criticizes you, a friend who suddenly distanced themselves, a family member who often finds faults in everything you do. Instead of letting their pain turn into your pain, step back and ask, what might they be going through? That question opens a door in your heart, not to excuse their behavior, but to understand it. And that understanding becomes your strength. This doesn't mean you should tolerate toxic behavior or allow people to disrespect you. Setting boundaries is important. But when your heart carries compassion instead of resentment, you protect yourself from becoming what hurt you. Because the truth is, when we don't heal, we hurt. And sometimes that hurt is not even ours to carry. It gets passed down, like an emotional inheritance. You see, a person who is at peace within will never go out and damage someone else's peace. A person who feels truly loved will never intentionally make someone feel unloved. And a person who is emotionally fulfilled doesn't need to pull others down to feel taller. When Gorgopal Das says, "Don't judge people by their actions alone, look at what might be driving those actions," he invites us into a life of empathy, a life where we don't just react to people, but we try to reach people. We listen with more than our ears, we listen with our hearts. If every time someone hurts you, you pause and say, "This isn't about me, it's about their pain," you will begin to protect your inner world from being disturbed by the storms outside. You'll stop absorbing everyone else's chaos. You'll stop taking offense to every cold word or sharp look. Think of it like this. If someone throws dirt at you, you can throw it back, or you can wash it off and walk away clean. The first option leaves both people dirty. The second keeps you pure, centered, and in control. So when someone hurts you, don't just see the hurt. Try to see the human behind it. Maybe, just maybe, they're crying for help in the only way they know how. And your understanding could be the first step toward their healing. Because hurt people, but healed people heal others. Let's be the latter. There are moments in life when silence is not just golden, it's divine. When emotions rise, when anger boils, when ego shouts for attention, that's the exact moment when silence becomes your greatest strength. Because what you say in anger might win the argument, but it can lose the relationship. And sometimes what you don't say says everything. We've all been there. Someone says something that triggers us, a sarcastic remark, a harsh insult, a public humiliation, and suddenly our ego is up in arms, ready for battle. The heart races, words form in the mind faster than we can catch them. The tongue itches to fire back. But here's the truth. Reacting instantly with harsh words might satisfy your ego temporarily, but it almost always leads to regret later. Silence, on the other hand, gives you the power to respond, not react. Imagine this situation. You're having a conversation with a friend. Things get a little tense. Out of nowhere, they say something that deeply hurts you. Now you have two choices. You can snap back, say something even more hurtful, and walk away with wounded pride. Or you can pause, breathe, and say nothing at all. That silence in the moment doesn't mean weakness. It means you're thinking beyond the moment. You're preserving your peace instead of wasting your energy proving a point. We live in a time where everyone wants the last word. Social media arguments, family feuds, workplace drama, it all stems from the need to be right. But what's the use of being right if it leaves your heart wronged? Gaur Gopal Das beautifully says, "Win hearts, not arguments." And sometimes the way to win a heart is to simply stay silent when your mind wants to speak the loudest. Let me give you an example from everyday life. Picture a married couple in a heated argument. The husband says something impulsive, something below the belt. The wife, hurt and furious, feels the urge to respond with equal bitterness. But she chooses silence, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. She walks away, takes time to cool off, and later, when both are calm, she expresses her feelings in a gentle yet firm way. That silence didn't break the bond, it protected it. That silence wasn't defeat, it was emotional intelligence in action. Silence allows space for healing. It gives your mind a chance to process and your heart a moment to soften. When we respond immediately, we respond from emotion. But when we allow silence, we respond from wisdom. Have you ever noticed that the most composed people in your life are the ones who don't talk too much during conflict? They don't rush to defend themselves. They don't blurt out insults. They just stay calm. And somehow, that silence makes them more powerful, not less. There's a story of a man who was known for his patience, and calm demeanor. One day, a stranger approached him and began insulting him, called him names, questioned his values, tried to provoke him. But the man said nothing. He just smiled and walked away. Later, someone asked, "Why didn't you respond? Didn't that hurt your pride?" The man replied, "If someone offers you garbage and you don't accept it, where does the garbage stay? With them." That's the beauty of silence. It doesn't mean you're okay with being disrespected. It means you're wise enough to know which battles are worth fighting and most aren't. You don't need to participate in every drama. You don't need to clap back at every insult. You don't need to lower your vibration just because someone else chose to lower theirs. Think about this. When you light a candle and the wind blows, what do? You protect the flame. You shield it gently. You don't yell at the wind. Your peace, your inner calm is that flame. And when people throw wind at you, criticism, insults, negativity, you don't protect your peace by screaming louder. You protect your peace by screaming louder. You protect it by becoming still, by becoming silent. In silence, we gain clarity. In silence, we hear our true thoughts, not just the noise of the moment. In silence, we connect with something deeper, our higher self, our wisdom, our dignity. So next time someone disrespects you, mocks you, provokes you, remember this. Reacting immediately might feel good for a moment, but silence will feel peaceful for a lifetime. The world doesn't need more arguments. It needs more examples of restraint. And you can be that example. There is strength in standing up for yourself, but there is even greater strength in knowing when to stay silent and let time speak for you. Because silence is not the absence of words, it is the presence of wisdom. So choose silence over stupidity. Choose stillness over storms. And remember, your peace is too precious to waste on pointless noise. When someone hurts you, betrays your trust, misunderstands you, speaks behind your back, or wounds you with their words, the natural response is judgment. They're selfish, they're fake, they don't care about me. We place labels on them like stickers based on one or two moments, and those labels become our permanent perception of them. But what if, instead of rushing to judge, we first chose to write, to journal, to sit down with our own thoughts, pour them out on paper, and allow ourselves to feel, to process, to understand? Journaling is not just writing, it is reflecting. It's a way to make sense of the emotional chaos inside without throwing it at someone else. When we journal, we give ourselves a mirror, a chance to see our own heart, not just the wound it carries. Because judgment pushes people away, journaling brings you closer to yourself. Let's say a close friend forgets your birthday. It hurts, of course, especially when you remembered theirs. The easy response is to judge them. They don't care about me. They're so self-centered. I'll stop making an effort to. But before making that decision, imagine sitting down that night, opening your journal, and writing, "I felt really disappointed today. My friend didn't wish me. I felt forgotten. But maybe they're going through something. Maybe they just had a busy day. Or maybe I need to talk to them instead of assuming." By the end of that paragraph, something begins to shift. The anger softens, the pain finds space to breathe, and your mind becomes clearer. Instead of feeding the judgment, you've nurtured awareness. Gaur Gopal Das often says, before trying to understand others, try understanding yourself. And that's what journaling does. It helps you understand your own reaction. Why did their words trigger you so deeply? Is it really about them, or is it touching an old wound inside you? Journaling becomes a sacred conversation with your inner self, where you can be honest without fear of judgment. Now imagine a situation where a family member constantly criticizes you. Maybe it's a parent or sibling who never seems satisfied. They say things like, "You're always like this," or "You never do anything right." Naturally, judgment kicks in. They're toxic, they'll never change, I'm done with them. But pause, take a moment. Open your notebook. Write, "It really hurts when they speak to me like that. I don't feel valued." But maybe they speak from their own fears, from their own expectations. Maybe they don't know how to express love in a healthy way. Again, your anger transforms into understanding, not acceptance of bad behavior, but clarity about why it affects you the way it does. When you judge someone too quickly, you close the door to healing. But when you journal, you open the window to compassion. You might still set boundaries, you might still decide to distance yourself, but your actions come from wisdom, not wounded ego. The beauty of journaling is that it doesn't demand perfection. You don't need to write beautifully. You don't need the right words. All you need is the courage to be honest with yourself. The page listens. It doesn't interrupt. It doesn't criticize. It just receives. And in that safe space, your pain begins to dissolve. Let's take another daily life example. You're in a relationship and your partner says something that deeply offends you. Maybe they joked about something personal or made a decision without including you. You're fuming. You want to send a long, angry message or give them the silent treatment. But before that, try journaling. What did I feel in that moment? Why did it hurt me so much? Have I communicated this need before? What do I truly want right now? To be right or to be understood? The answers that come through those pages often surprise us. We realize we were projecting or expecting without expressing, or reacting from past pain. Judging is easy. It takes no effort to assume the worst. But journaling, that takes courage. It takes emotional maturity. It takes a willingness to see your own role in the story, not to blame yourself, but to grow through it. And the most powerful thing is, journaling builds emotional memory. As you fill more pages, you begin to see patterns in your life. You start noticing what triggers you, what soothes you, what lessons you keep repeating. Your journal becomes your personal roadmap to inner peace. You begin responding to life, not just reacting to it. In a world where everyone is quick to blame and slow to reflect, choosing to journal makes you different. It makes you wise, it makes you grounded, and it brings you closer to your best self. So the next time someone hurts you, don't rush to label them. Don't rush to cut them off or lash out. Instead, pick up a pen, sit quietly, let your heart speak through ink. Write out the storm before you speak to anyone about it. Because when you journal, you don't just protect others from your reaction, you protect yourself from becoming someone you're not. And that is the highest act of emotional strength. There's a subtle but profound difference between a thermometer and a thermostat. A thermometer only reflects the temperature of its surroundings. If it's hot, it shows hot. If it's cold, it shows cold. It has no control, just a reaction to whatever is happening around it. A thermostat, on the other hand, doesn't just reflect the environment, it regulates it. It sets the tone. It maintains balance. It changes the climate instead of being changed by it. And in life, we have the same choice. We can either let people and situations dictate our inner state, like a thermometer,